After all these years, we meet at last. I will make you pay for making the Galactic Federation so successful. Now, face me in battle and prepare to feel the wrath of my Wii Motion Plus enhanced powers.
Yeah, dude, I know it's been a while since you last showed up, so I'll catch you up to speed. Nobody cares about motion control gimmicks, turret sections, or Bloom anymore. It's all about microtransactions, random crossovers, marketable gambling, and battle passes. But people have waited long enough. We don't need a gimmick, we can fight.
In that case, I challenge you to complete this tedious battle pass I quickly made by putting prompts into a computer. Only then can you acquire the key that leads into my lair. Or you could do a scavenger quest and try to find the 16 MacGuffins I've hidden across the planet.
Fine, have it your way. I'm in no rush. Enjoy your time trapped in that house while I gather your silly trinkets.
"17 years. It's hard to believe that after 17 years, since the Nintendo DS era, we are finally seeing some updates to the follow-up of Prime 3's post-credits scene. This close-up is perhaps one of the most cathartic experiences in the franchise history, and Shinja Takahashi's body language says it all. We finally got our first look at Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and my excitement is through the roof. However, seeing as there's still some time before its eventual release, I can't think of a better time to do a recap to help new players catch up to speed with what we know so far. First off, Prime 4 was confirmed in 2017 when the game was in an early stage of development and was revealed ahead of time, so fans knew a Metroid game was indeed planned for the Switch. However, in 2019, Nintendo announced that they were unsatisfied with the game's build at the time. So, to avoid launching something that might not live up to fans' expectations, they opted to cancel the game and begin reworking from scratch, now with Retro Studios being its lead developers. So in essence, the build we saw in the trailer is most likely the one that began its production back in 2019. So I think it's more fair to say that Prime 4's current build has only seen around 3 or 4 years of development, given that the cancellation announcement was made mid-2019 and that the pandemic that occurred shortly after probably slowed down some of the early pre-production. But luckily, it does seem like the game will have a full development period with a chance to iron out any quirks before its release. As I mentioned earlier, Beyond is gearing up to continue that one last story thread at Corruption's secret ending that teased Sylux chasing Samus, but also that of Federation Force. I know this wasn't everyone's favorite game, so let me give you a quick rundown of the noteworthy events that may play a part in Prime 4. Following Phazon's eradication in Prime 3, the Galactic Federation realized that although the space pirates were weakened, they persisted in attempting to cause chaos. The galaxy will never be at peace until the space pirates were wiped out. Therefore, they initiated Project Golem to build mech suits to give them the upper hand and reclaim the Bermuda system while thwarting whatever the pirates were planning to unleash next. To give this spin-off some credit, it has a very open and shut story, but the main point of interest is Mission 17 Infestation, where the Federation Force infiltrates a lab in Talvania where the pirates attempt to use their amplification beam on Metroids, forcing them to grow into a colossal size. Like most mission-based Nintendo games, you had a bonus objective of retrieving a Metroid egg so the Federation could conduct their research on the creature. Completing this objective will trigger the post-credits scene where we see Sylux infiltrating a Federation base and stealing the Metroid hatchling for himself. However, just because Beyond continues this plot thread doesn't mean it takes place immediately after it. As most of you know, the Prime series takes place between the events of Metroid Zero Mission and Samus Returns. The opening of Federation Force shows that it takes place in the cosmic year 20X6, while Prime 4 is set to take place in 20X9, placing it sometime after the events of Samus Returns and possibly even Super Metroid, which took place in 20X7. Though it is hard to see in the trailer, just like the Space Pirates, the Federation troopers also seem to have gotten a slight redesign. Yet this one feels somewhat closer to the type of rounder armor we saw in Federation Force or even Other M. This would make sense if this raid, which we assume is the opening segment of the game, takes place close to Federation Force, seeing as Samus's Varia suit also sports the look from the Prime trilogy. However, the date on the cosmic calendar and other events in the trailers seem to imply this is taking place much later. So until we get clarification, I think it's safe to assume that the Trooper's redesign was a matter of creating a new look that best fits the tone of the world and of the narrative, much like the Space Pirates. The same can be said for Samus, whose old look from the Prime games got a fantastic update that makes the armor more practical while retaining some exaggerated proportions that define the character, and I'm happy to see that even Sylux got a similar treatment. An interesting quirk is that despite piloting her gunship from Prime 3, Samus emerges from its top instead of the hanger that pops on its bottom. However, I don't think this changes much of anything and could probably be a design decision to have her do the iconic flip she performed in the intro of the first 2 Prime games, be it to have a flashy introduction in the trailer or something they want to incorporate into the finished product. So far, it may be a tad early to discern whether Beyond Story will take place before the events in Metroid Fusion, although I think there can be some interesting conflict if someone like Adam Malkovich was still alive, or if Emerald Dane were to make a return. Not counting General Alex Miles from Federation Force, these two are the closest authority figures we have within the Galactic Federation, so it might be an interesting opportunity to bring them back to help set the stage with Sylux, who was our new main antagonist, and flesh out some new relations we weren't aware of, surmising that they want to tie their stories together, of course. So, alright, let's finally address the elephant in the room that everyone is losing their minds over. Sylux is one of the 6 bounty hunters introduced in Metroid Prime Hunters that fought against Samus over control of the Alembic Cluster's ultimate power. Though some assumed these characters perished at the hands of Goria's trap, the good ending reveals that all 6 hunters escaped from Oubliette. So, in theory, any could have a chance to return in Metroid Prime 4 or any future titles. Though the game didn't focus on fleshing out these new characters, Sylux always stood out a bit more thanks to his enigmatic origins. Compared to the others, we don't know much about this hunter, aside from the fact that he holds a deep hatred for the Galactic Federation, and by extension Samus, who's always aiding them in accomplishing their goals. What intrigues fans isn't so much what we know about the character, rather it's what we don't. His hostility made it all the more intriguing given that his armor and gunship, the Delano 7, are stolen Federation armament with unknown origins or purpose. Different from the rest of the cast in Prime Hunters, Sylux's motivations, goals, as well as relation to the Federation are a total mystery. Over the years, series producer Kensuke Tanabe has voiced interest in fleshing out this character's story, so it is exciting to see what he has come up with after all these years, or how the development team might have aided in shaping the narrative or world that we would get to explore. As established, Beyond is gearing up to take place sometime later in the timeline, so the trailer isn't showing the time when Sylux is stealing the Metroid, explaining why he shows up to the facility with more than one behind his back. Then again, these might not even be regular Metroids, rather these could be Machtroids, a subspecies of failed clones we first encountered in Super Metroid. If you look closely, you will notice that Machtroids have only one nucleus as opposed to 3, a whitish membrane instead of green, as well as a differently shaped fangs when compared to a regular Metroid. Then again, there is the possibility that these are just a new breed of Metroids, like say the ones we saw in Aether, or just a complete redesign altogether. The important thing of note is that Sylux has indeed been cloning Metroids, most likely thanks to the help of the Space Pirates who probably learned this information from their time working with Mother Brain, and are bringing the defects, so to speak, to avoid endangering the original one and thus ruining their cloning supply. I don't think it's surprising to see the pirates ally with Sylux, given that the Federation is their common enemy, and the raid they're conducting seems to have been on a facility overseeing experiments on a new unknown artifact. We can deduce that it's of great importance not only because of the sheer scale of the invasion and seeing the Federation trying to hide it away mid-raid, but more so from the fact that despite already having Metroids within their grasps, The organism that once allowed Mother Brain to hold the galaxy hostage and that other great evil sought to control, Sylux is bent on acquiring this artifact at all costs, hinting that it could be hiding some terrifying properties we are yet to discover that could overshadow the Metroids entirely. And for those curious about how Sylux is commanding the Metroids, given he likely doesn't have any connections to the Thohas, it is most likely a case of the creature imprinting Sylux's apparent upon hatching, in the same way the baby Metroid imprinted with Samus back on SR-388, and it's probable that the same can be said for any of the clones he's made. Although information is still vague on this matter, interviews made with Tanabe back in 2015 revealed that he wanted to try a time-shifting mechanic for the world, similar to how Echoes handled the light and dark variants of Aether. So, assuming those ideas are still in play, the artifact could hold some time-traveling properties that could allow Samus to explore different periods of the same planet. If this is the case, then it's likely that the shape on the game's logo could be a reference to a portal. Perhaps the artifact itself is some type of time-shifting gate that expands when in use. But some other astute fans have noticed that its shape also holds a similarity to that of recent pictures from black holes, so there's room for various possibilities. The interesting thing is that during the final scenes in the trailer, we can see Samus emerging from a portal not unlike the ones in Echoes, so perhaps it's a sign that some of those ideas have made it into the final game in some form. This shot also serves as a way to remind us that, despite the more action-orienting opening tutorial area, the game will still have the more laid-back exploration we have come to love. Something akin to what has happened with previous titles in the series, especially in Metroid Prime 3. If time travel is indeed playing a part in the story, then it could be a way for the developers to play around with the idea of not only showing Sylux's backstory, but perhaps there is an event that happened that he's trying to change to alter the future. Maybe he's trying to undo an event that made him resent the Federation or prevent Samus from gaining her current strength. Possibly, he could be trying to steal the same weaponry that she has available to her, or trying to wipe out the Federation at a weaker point in the past. Perhaps he is trying to alter things in the past to give him the upper hand in the present, or use the portals to access stronger weaponry from a presumably extinct species, or one that is yet to manifest in our present. It is also worth pointing out that it's extremely unlikely that Phazon returns in any capacity, as Tanabe commented in some interviews that the story regarding it and Dark Samus is officially over, and that he wanted to follow up on Sylux's story moving forward. So far, the only way I can see the radioactive substance make a return is if there's indeed a time-shifting mechanic in the game that takes us back to a point before the Prime Trilogy's ending, or that changes what transpired during it. Still, I think that if the focus is truly on our new lead antagonist, we won't see the mineral return to avoid bloating the plot or stealing the spotlight. I am so happy that the story threads Teased and Corruption's endings are finally being brought to light. Given the time between games, it wouldn't have been strange to see them completely alter the story or shift the focus onto someone else. To me, this is a sign that the ideas they had back then are still interesting enough to pursue today, perhaps even enhanced by what modern technology can achieve. Hopefully, there will be an opportunity to cross paths with the other hunters in this game and see them more fleshed out, at least Weevil, given that he is a space pirate with a vendetta against Samus. Yet a part of me fears that this could bloat the story or detract some focus away from the world or Sylux himself. As I mentioned in my other video, Hunters was a game I always wanted to see get another attempt on proper hardware to reach its full potential, and there is a chance that Prime 4 could be that without committing to the original's more shooter-oriented mentality. If they do want to add a multiplayer mode, I wish they retained the arena shooter spirit Prime Hunters had on the DS, as it could help it stand apart from the competition while offering a unique experience to the Switch's online catalog. My only hope is that if they do go ahead with implementing this mode, that they handle it like a bonus mode, whose development won't take resources away from the campaign, which is the central focus of the mainline games. What we got was an early look at some scenes that were in a presentable state, a way to give us a taste of what's to come. Yet, I wouldn't say this is the final look for the game. This trailer might have been using footage from a build they had earlier this year to have it ready before the direct, so perhaps it's not even reflecting the current state of the game. Beyond so far only has a planned release year, meaning it can come out say late 2025 or perhaps even be delayed a little more, like what happened with Tears of the Kingdom, to fully polish the game or even time its release with the next generation of systems. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo wanted to use Prime 4 as a cross-generation launch to help promote their new hardware while allowing Metroid to shine in the spotlight. All signs show that Nintendo is taking this game very seriously, going as far as opting to start from scratch to make a game that meets our standards. They understand the build-up and excitement we have, and they seem determined to meet our expectations, which is probably why they have opted to stay quiet about this title the entire time. They were waiting for the right moment when they had something worth showing closer to its release than constantly teasing us over several years. Regardless, I am super excited to see what Prime 4 might have in store and how it will continue to expand the franchise. The Prime series holds a special place in my heart. They were the games that made me into the fan that I am today, so I have high hopes for what the team has come up with to shake up the formula. All I want is a fascinating world to discover at my own pace in complete isolation, where the story unfolds not just through dialogues or cutscenes, but through the environments I uncover that tell a story through its design. It was this invisible hand at storytelling that allowed me to get immersed in its world and invested in seeking answers to a history that made me fall in love with the series, which is something I am sure will be the focus of this new installment. In the meantime, consider subscribing to the channel to get up to speed with the lore of these games or learn other interesting anecdotes you might have not been aware of. And if you're looking to get something to showcase your excitement for Metroid Prime 4, then consider checking out the merch store. We have designs featuring all your favorite characters available in a variety of products, including a certain blue and green fellow I'm sure everyone is excited over. Before ending things off, I want to thank my patrons for their continued support of the channel and the other personal projects I'm currently developing. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video or stream.
Joke's on her. I just wanted time to catch up on my backlog.
Can you please turn on your tank stands?